All right, here it is, folks. This Santa Cruz Bullit. When I heard it was coming my way, I was so excited for a long travel e-mountain bike, 170, 170, mullet, Bosch motor, horselink. It's like everything I could dream of. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you the ins and outs, the pros and cons of this bike. All right, Santa Cruz Bullit, long awaited. The rad bike is here. And backtrack a little bit. You know, the old Bullit and the old Heckler weren't quite there because it had a BPP suspension, a little bit too much, what do you call that? Anti-squat, a little too short on the dropper, and a Shimano motor. So, you know, this is the promised land, so to speak. And the promise, we had a glimpse of it with the Santa Cruz Vala. I rode the Vala right here, and in the first 10-20 minutes, it felt like an old friend. I rode better than I had all year on a bike that, you know, was just not even fully dialed for me. But it was that good, it was that easy to ride, and what I said was true. You know, just make it rad, make it compliant, make it plush, give it a lot of traction, and they really succeeded. Only one thing, it had a 600 watt-hour battery, which is okay for me. But, you know, for bigger riders, for bigger mountains, riders that want to go on group rides, it was a little bit limiting. So we had high hopes for the Bullit. So here it is. And then when I first picked it up, I said, okay, oh no, looks like a 600 watt-hour battery as well. Check the spec. Is there an option for an 800? There's no option. So you know what I said? I said, this better ride damn good. So I got good news and bad news on that one. So the good news is it rides damn good. My riding, I didn't capture a lot of footage.
Yeah.
What's the verdict on the bike, Ron?
This bike is fucking dialed.
Right?
Dialed, baby,
Amazing.
dialed.
Just like the Vala, you get on it and it just begs you to let off the brakes, begs you to, you know, do your thing, you know, practice what you learned and just get rad, hit that corner, hit those jumps. And this was the Bullit indeed. It was the Vala amplified, and it's had everything I expected and then a little more, because, you know, first ride, big travel, haven't really got to know the new X2 yet, and so good. And then I gave it to my buddy Ronnie, and oh my god, been riding with this guy 10-20 years. I've never seen him ride like this. It rides that good, so easy to ride, and it's hard to figure out what's making it ride so good. You know, it's just kind of not too fancy. You know, there's nothing, no secret on the chainstay, on the seat angle and head angle, and it rides really well. So like I said, we have the elephant in the room, which is the 600 watt-hour battery, but we do have a solution. They do have a solution, which is the extender battery. So the extender battery is right here. 600 plus 250 is 850. Pretty darn good, right? But it doesn't look good. It's kind of a pain in the neck. And so from this moment on, I'm just going to talk about this bike without it. And there you go, about 3.5 pounds for this. And our weight is looking at 51.5 pounds with this guy, with an extender, and about 48.5 pounds on the CC Access Reserve without the extender. So 48.5 pounds for basically a downhill bike. Pretty darn good. Okay, before we get to the riding impressions, and I know that's what you want to get into, is let's just talk about the bike. The bike is colored black, but it's the most beautiful black I've ever seen. Everyone who looks at it are like, wow, what color is that? It looks kind of different. It's like licorice, but it has such depth that it's a very rich black. I've never seen a black like this. They have that other color too, is a matte blue, beautiful as well. And like I said, 170 travel, and they have the latest Fox X2. It turns out the old X2 wasn't that good. Aside from being unreliable, you know, it was just hard to get moving, hard to tune. This one from the get-go, so awesome. And look at this, 2 rebound adjusters. Everything is easy to access. CX-5 motor, CX-5 motor is key, and I'm going to tell you in a minute why it's so important. The first part is it's as fast as the CX4 race, and it's more quiet going up, but most important, there's no rattle going down. I want to let you hear the motor right here, full turbo, and it is in our test course compared to other motors. Right there, that corner, we will have videos that will put each motor side by side so you can compare them. But it's a CX-5, very smooth and very quiet. But it has a real trick up its sleeve coming up in exactly 2 weeks of announcement, and maybe 6 weeks till you get it in your hands. All right, so what we have here is a medium 460 reach. This is a CC, by the way, 460 reach. The chainstays are 443. But what's really cool is it's adjustable. 5 sizes. For every size, there's a different length chainstay. So very progressive. Usually the medium are the lucky ones because you have a short chainstay and it matches your reach. But in this case, they take care of the large guys, the XL and XXL. The XXL guys really complain when the chainstay is really short because you lose your proportions. You're too much on the rear wheel and you're not weighting the front wheel as much. So here they really take care of that. Very steep seat angle. It's 77 and change, 77.3 or 0.4. And then it has a 63.3 on the head angle. And then we have the Mavens, the Maven Sly, I think. And this one looks pretty cool because I haven't seen this before. And aside from being Maven-like in power, it's kind of light action too on the uptake. One up dropper. So on the medium, they just give you 180. You know, you can get more if you want. Look at that. I have more room. But on the large, they give you a 210. I would go for a 210 for my short stature because this bike can handle it. And that's the benefit of the horselink suspension. There's no shock right here. You know, they have a massive, what do you call this, link? And it is just a work of art. Da Vinci would be proud. And it is massive. It is stiff. And so as you torque this bike, left and right, right and left, it just begs to be ridden and ridden fast. Pros and cons, I'll go through the cons. The price is expensive. Don't have the exact pricing, but I believe it's going to match the Vala 7400, which is really cool because now it has that new cable actuated SRAM transmission and some pretty neat parts. And not that much money. But this one, I think, is 13.4, 13.5. Got some really good news. I thought it was going to be more than the Vala, which is 12,800. I was thinking over 13, but they just gave me the price just now, and it's 11,900. So really cool. They said they just came up with the pricing today. They're being aggressive. So I love it. So not a weakness. You know, I wish they gave an extender battery or sold an extender battery, but that's available in the aftermarket. Okay, the other downside, like I said, is the battery. The battery, they chose to go with the 600 watt hour. So Bosch gives you 600 or 800. And so a lot of companies are now doing both. And at checkout time, you can decide which one you want. Here's the thing with 600, I did a survey and not, 80% prefer the 800. They can probably live with 600 if there was an extender, but that's their preference. And then the 600, you get a little bit more slender, a little lighter weight, 2.2 pounds. But what you're giving up is range, group rides, expeditions. So the extender is interesting. I call it a requirement now these days because you never know how you're going to configure your ride. And this gives you some configurability, adaptability. All right, so there it is. The problem with it is that if you're a heavy guy or if you live in the mountains and you use it all the time, then it's just going to stay there. So if it's going to stay there on your bike, on your Bullit permanently or semi-permanently, this is probably not the best bike for you because this thing is kind of ugly. Implementation, the cable is just kind of hanging out there, no guides, and this flap just stays open right there. You know, like, wow, how's that acceptable? Some weaknesses, and then when you're charging, you have to charge them in series. So first you charge the little guy and then you charge the big guy. So you have to really get in there in the middle of the night and just move the plug over. So it makes that charging is just not dialed yet. But it's a good thing to have, but it does this thing is 3.3 pounds, and I think you have some cable weight. I think it's a little more than 51.5 pounds when this is there. And the center of gravity is kind of high. I tried to mount this like super low, like right here, but then this thing will just hit it. So it has to be right up there. So what they saved 2.2 pounds by going with a small battery, but with this one you add 3.4 pounds when you have an extender. So if you don't need an extender, you're light, you don't have the big mounts, you're dialed. But if you need an extender once in a while, you're okay. But if you need an extender all the time, because you're a heavy guy, you're keeping up with the Levos and the new crop of 800 batteries, then this might not be the bike for you. Because the advantage of the lightweight, 2 pounds that they got is negated and then some by the extender. So the weight of the bike with the extender is 51.8 pounds, pretty heavy, but gotta let you guys know, all the test riding was done with the extender. So it's not the lightweight that's making the bike great. That's the battery discussion. And before I leave that subject, something really interesting is the CX-5 motor is 85 Newton meters and I think 600 watts. It's gonna get an upgrade at Riva de Garda. It's gonna get announced in June 1. You get it over the phone, firmware update. This thing will go to 100 Newton meters and I think 750 watts or something like 700 plus watts. So significant upgrade, and so that's why they're on the right motor. The problem is it's going to use more of your 600 battery with that more powerful, more hungry motor. The more you tap into the 100 Newton meters. Something interesting is on the Vala, I fell in love with the Schwalbe tires, the radial tires, Magic Mary. Here, they went with the traditional DHR, and I believe that's a Assegai front. I'm so hooked on the Schwalbe now. I'm using the Shredder Magic Mary rear and Shredder front, but that might be a little even too much even for this bike. So the radial has that certain supple feel that I can't get away from. Other parts of this bike that are quite fascinating are, the bearings. The bearings are links overbuilt, bearings overbuilt, serviceable, easy to service. Call them up if you want to replenish your bearings. They'll do that lifetime, I think. And as Santa Cruz has done, they execute this quite well. They have 2 points of adjustability. One is the adjustable height of the BB and the head angle, and you do that with a flip chip right here. So right now it's set to low, which is kind of get rad, but if you want to have a lot more kind of rocky roody technical terrain, speed up the handling a little bit, you raise it up a little bit, and they do have a flip chip for that. So this chip right here addresses the progressivity of the shock from 26 to 29%. Right now I think it's on 26%. I think if you want to get rad and do some really rowdy terrain, you put it on the higher progressivity. So I'm going to play with that. I haven't played with the adjustability, the chips yet, but there you go. It's a package. It's a natural mullet, just a beautiful implementation of the horselink, the right motor to be on these days. Just dial geometry, absolute dial geometry. It just laughs at you at the terrain you're familiar with and says, "Hey, that what you got? Can you go a little faster, please? I got your back." So this bike's really got your back. And really, if you can live with a 600 watt-hour battery and you can hit some of those price points, especially the lower one with the new cable transmission, pretty darn good option to have. So if you're not subscribed already, please tune into the channel and hit some of those buttons, because we are gonna have this in a roundup of rad full suspension bikes. We're gonna do one-on-ones, this versus the Ari, this versus the Gen 4 Levo. Even though they're a little bit different in the travel, I know you guys can only have one bike if you can have one. So I'll help you decide which bike would be the best for you. Thanks a ton, guys.